First of all, I would like to thank BCMD for having a teacher here and giving a voice to a teacher. So before I go to what I'll be sharing here, I would like to thank His Majesty the King, Honorable Prime Minister, and Minister of Health, as well as the frontline workers for keeping Bhutan safe. And in it, I could say that Bhutan is the safest haven during the pandemic. And when it comes to the presentation that I'll be doing here, I have big ideas, hoping that it might get into some ears and some right office or some right system. So I'll be talking on 3 grounds: Bhutan's advantage and education for the future. And when I say education for the future, I would like to stress on the opportunity to future-fit education. And I'll also be touching on how skills matter and not degrees. Bhutan's education system has a mission called nationally rooted, globally competent, which is very much in line with the future of education. And I would like to say that His Majesty's exemplary and visionary leadership, as well as his emphasis on education, is giving us a big light ahead of education. And the Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Education, as well as REC, Big C, and RUB coming together is a big advantage for us. And the most beautiful thing is that parents, teachers, and the communities now are beginning to realize that education is the future. And during the pandemic, Bhutan was as an advantage stage because we could give continuous education through tele-education, SIM, which is self-instructional materials, as well as radio and online platforms. And one thing really stood out was that in Bhutan, the schools readied for school reopening, and everyone came together. And I would say that we are already looking into the future of education through the 3 lights of wisdom that His Majesty always stresses on. And I'd like to quote His Majesty: "Being small is our greatest advantage. We can do things better, more efficiently, and faster than any other nation in the 21st century." I unquote. The other one is, "What we lack in numbers, we must make up in talent." And the last one is how the future lies, or how the youth are the custodians of our national identity, and our education to suit that. Now coming to the global context, in March, as the schools closed down, in Bhutan alone, 170,000 students stopped going to school. And in the global context, 1.5 billion children stopped going to school. And it really opened a deepening crisis in learning. And I would say that it has casted so much light into the status quo of the education system that the world has. And it was giving a scare and an uncertainty to the education system. And I would also like to say that digital divide was one big thing that struck us when schools began to close. And leave aside the global context. In Bhutan alone, the online classes, the tele-education program, and everything was challenged by the digital divide. And the pandemic also revealed a lot of vulnerabilities that the education system has. And I would like to say that the pandemic also opened a big opportunity to bring about the long due over changes, long due changes in education system. And as a teacher, I believe that education is, and education needs change, and rethinking education is now. And to present a finding by the World Economic Forum, it says that 65% of the primary school children that they are in primary schools globally will be working in jobs that don't exist. I repeat, they will be working in jobs that don't exist. And the time has come where automated, digitized, and fluid job markets are everyday things. Disruptive technology is there, big data, Internet of Things, blockchains, AI, coding, and our education system challenging that, or are we going towards that? So reimagining education should happen la. So I would like to focus on one thing la. From the literature that is on, like what we have noticed is that the current system of schooling started during the first industrialization period, wherein like people had to go to job and schools had to happen so that children can be there, so that parents can work. And the factory model of school also happened, where the children are the raw materials and the teachers are the factory workers and a product was manufactured. And now, as a teacher, I would like to put forward that schools should go beyond, education should go beyond the four walls of the school or even the schooling system. And I already got the 3 minutes thing, so I would like to go on to the skills, not degrees, that may be the reality of future. And to bring forth like big companies like Google, Apple, Penguin, IBM are already shifting their focus from degrees. They're hiring people with more skills. So the time has come where education should be skill-focused, not degree. So the future of work is definitely going to change, and it is changing. So can our education suit to the future of the job market? And for now, to be very honest, we are in the 21st century, wherein we are following education system which has which has started in the 18th or 19th century. So can our education system change? And I would like to answer that it should change. And digital competencies is one big thing that the education system should build. Students should be able to design, develop, and employ technology. Technology-based learning should happen. And AI-based learning tools should be taken into account. And coding should start. We should not leave coding for classes, for IT classes or for higher students. Coding can start from as early as class PP. And self-learning. Bhutan faced a lot of problems during the pandemic because of self-learning. Because teachers, policymakers, students, parents were not ready at all when schools closed. We were always used to a system where there was direction. Teachers waited for the direction from a ministry. Students waited for the direction from teachers, how to go about. And still, with 3 months or 4 months into the pandemic, we are still having that difficulty. Students waiting to learn, whereas the time has come where we have to come forward. Self-learning should happen. And this is one thing that our education should focus. So I would like to thank the forum, and I would like to thank BCMD for the opportunity. Thank you.